covered.nj.gov.
Sports is what we do.
You're in your car, you're in your house, you're wherever you are. You're a sports fan.
97.3 ESPN.
Because if you weren't a sports fan, you wouldn't be listening.
WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
A day after the Eagles win, and we get some deflating news. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll talk with Rob Maaddi deeper about what is next for the Eagles. And listen, what happened in the NFL this weekend is very important to the Eagles. I was sitting there yesterday, and where I was sitting, it felt like people were more excited that the Cowboys lost than the Eagles won. So we're going to digest a lot this weekend, this hour. I'll get to the latest on the Jalen Hurts news in just a moment, but I want to remind you, as always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And don't forget Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press, lead NFL writer. He will join me coming up in less than 20 minutes now, about 17 minutes from now. We will talk to Rob. But before we get there, I got to go through the news of Jalen Hurts. So it was a wild about 40 minutes. Okay. It was about, I want to say it was roughly around 4:20 when the news first started to come out. And I got to be honest with everybody. When I first saw the news, it wasn't the same person everyone else saw. So I had to do a little research on why people were freaking out the way they were. Come to find out that the actual chronology of events is that there was an imbecile who wanted to be the first to report something, put out poor information. This guy then was retweeted by a national media member in the sports media who didn't do his own homework. And so people were starting to run with his initial report. Then a few minutes later, Adam Schefter, Mike Garafolo, John Clark, Jeff McClain, all of the regular reputable people started coming out with the real news. So here is what the real news is. According to reports, Jalen Hurts has a sprained shoulder. Now, the shoulder sprain is of his throwing shoulder, which in and of itself is ironic because in the fourth quarter, with a sprained shoulder, Jalen Hurts was 6 for 9 for 102 yards and 104.9 passer rating. So apparently the shoulder sprain wasn't bad enough to keep him from playing, but it was bad enough to put his status in doubt for Saturday's game. According to multiple reports, x-rays were negative. Nothing is broken in his shoulder. The MRI he had diagnosed him with a sprained right shoulder. Now, we have not yet heard, and I'm going to double check, but I don't think there's been an Eagles press conference day after yet. Usually, a head coach speaks the day after. Well, Nick Sirianni has not. So it seems to me that the Eagles were potentially waiting to get news about Jalen before they sent the head coach out there to talk. So read into that what you will, but obviously when we know more. But here's the tweet from Schefter that's very interesting, because the initial tweet from Schefter broke the news about it. But the second tweet from him said, the Eagles and Jalen Hurts' agent said to ESPN they do not believe this is a long-term injury. So it seems like the Eagles were very intent on getting a message out there to the media. Apparently, if you go by certain reports, it looks like in the third quarter, when he got driven to the ground by Gibson of the Bears, is when the injury occurred. So, what do we do with this information? Well, there's a couple things we take from it. Number one, the good news is Hurts isn't done for the year. This isn't an injury that will keep him from playing long term. It does look like an injury that is probably going to put him in a position where he will miss multiple games. My suspicion, if you had to ask me, based on all the information that was gathered of what will happen with Jalen Hurts, everything that's out there looks like he's going to miss the next 2 games. I suspect that he will miss the Dallas game because he's already being called by multiple reports doubtful for Saturday's game. Then I think he will also miss the Saints game as an abundance of caution kind of situation. I think there is a real possibility that Jalen Hurts does play the last game of the year for a quarter or a half. And I'll explain why once I explain what happens the next 2 games. I ran the numbers multiple times on the simulators from the NFL and from ESPN. The Eagles can lose to Dallas, and as long as they beat at least the Saints or the Giants, they will win the division. The only way the Eagles don't win the division and don't get the number 1 seed is if they lose all 3 games down the stretch. So if the Eagles are that serious about getting the bye, being the number 1 seed, and winning the division, they have to do one thing and one thing for sure. They have to win January 1st. Saturday and the Giants game to end the year, not necessary. Also, don't forget, you own the Saints pick. You beat them January 1st. They get a worse record. You get a better draft pick. You could potentially lock up the division because the Cowboys have a very interesting stretch after this weekend. Because even if the Cowboys beat you this weekend, they got the Titans on Thursday Night Football, and they finish the year versus Washington. A Washington team that is fighting for a shot at the postseason, and a Titans team that has to win out to win their division. Because when the Cowboys lost to the Jags yesterday afternoon, Doug Peterson ensured that his team has a chance to win the division. Now, the Titans have to win out to win the division. Because even if the Titans lose 1 game along the way, the Jags can steal the division still. So for the Titans, it's important for them to get that win over the Cowboys, because what is one of the tiebreakers for the division? Well, for the Jags, they beat the Cowboys. If the Titans lose the Cowboys, Jags don't want the tiebreakers. That's a problem for them. So for the Eagles, it's not about winning every game as it is about winning enough games. So for the Eagles, you can still lose on Saturday. And it doesn't mean you want to lose on Saturday, okay? You never want to lose. You're a professional NFL player. You want to be the best. You want to be great. You want to, all that 9 yards. But I think that what we saw in the game yesterday is that for as amazingly talented as this Eagles team is, they are still making some ridiculous mistakes. And if you want to make sure that you win one of the next 3 games to lock up number 1 in division and win the conference number 1 seed to get that first round bye, you got to clean some things up. Because yesterday's game, one of those interceptions was completely not Jalen Hurts' fault. Quez Watkins quit on the route. And because he was a bum, he left his quarterback out to dry. And I was trying to explain this to some people yesterday when I was out. And, maybe this explanation is a little, maybe it's too football, nerdy. I don't know what you want to call it. But so you guys can let me know at 609-403-0973 on text with your thoughts. You can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. If you want more information on the Jalen Hurts unlikely to play versus Dallas, just go to our website, 973ESPN.com, or jump on the 973 ESPN mobile app. The Jalen Hurts anticipation throws have been accountable for the majority of his interceptions this year. 2 of the interceptions yesterday and 2 of his 3 interceptions earlier this year have all been because in the offense that Steichen and Sirianni are running, they are asking Jalen Hurts to throw to a spot on the field where the route calls for the receiver to be there. When you ask a quarterback to take his instincts out of the game and be an anticipation thrower, you are going to leave him susceptible to things like you saw yesterday. I thought a perfect example of a quarterback who has been enabled to still trust his instincts was the Trevor Lawrence touchdown for the Jags near the end of the game. You saw that Trevor Lawrence, they were running a rub route where the receivers cross over. Well, Trevor Lawrence saw before the play that the Dallas corner and safety saw what was coming. And Trevor Lawrence, within 3 seconds, saw what Dallas did, that they overplayed the rub. He pump faked it. He got the Dallas defender to jump, and then he threw it where only his guy could get it. That's how the Jags got to overtime, and that's what eventually led them to win in overtime, was that decision by Lawrence. I don't think Jalen Hurts in this offense is allowed to make those type of instinctive changes all the time. I think he makes changes on his own without quote-unquote permission, and that leads to some big plays. But I do think that we cannot discount the fact that you have a quarterback who is now injured, who is being replaced by a quarterback who is going to be asked to run a system and not run a Peyton Manning offense. There's very few guys in the league today who walk up to the line like Brady or Peyton Manning does and redoes the entire line of scrimmage calls. And no, most of these guys go to the line, they have 2 or 3 plays, and they walk to the line with play A, they change to play 2, everybody knows what play B or 2 is, and they go with that. Very rarely are quarterbacks allowed to make multiple changes at the line. So I think that yesterday's game is an example of, one, this team has to be smarter on game day, because Gardner Minshew can't do what Jalen does. He can't bail you out with the run game. He can't bail you out if things go sideways. You got to have a more balanced and structured offense if you want to win one of the next 3 games if you're Philadelphia. We'll get more into the Hurts injury along with the NFL's crazy weekend. Jags beat the Cowboys. Vikings had the largest comeback in NFL history and win in overtime over the Colts. All that and more next here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season Christmas Eve in Dallas against the Cowboys.
And he will not go. Elliott has walked down at the line of scrimmage, and the Cowboys will have to punt.
Pre-game coverage starts at noon with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 1 p.m. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagle Station.
At my age, I never dreamed I'd be dealing with opioid addiction.
I was pregnant and I couldn't stop.
Getting sidelined by an injury was bad, but the cravings were way worse.
Then I heard about 844-REACH-NJ.
They connected me to treatment and I had a healthy baby.
844-REACH-NJ was the call that made the difference.
Thank goodness I made the call.
So glad I made the call for both of us.
REACH-NJ. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, call 844-REACH-NJ from the New Jersey Department of Human Services.
Where does the magic of the holidays come from? The North Pole? Maybe. Sugar plum fairies? Probably not. At Walgreens, we know that magic comes from you. It's the halls you deck from wall to wall, the wonderful gifts under your tree, and the holly jolly parties you throw. So dash into your local Walgreens, where we'll be here to help every merry little step of the way. Because when you're ready to spread the holiday cheer, it's not magic, it's Walgreens. This week, number 7 star of the show gift sets are 50% off. Select styles available while supplies last.
This holiday ad will be over in 27 seconds. Unlike the new Duracell battery with Power Boost ingredients that can last 19,976 seconds in your kid's RC motorcycle, or 6,801 seconds on your beard trimmer for this year's family photo, or 15,172 seconds on your electric frother for some holiday eggnog, and many more seconds to get more out of your holiday season. Duracell, unlike this ad, engineered for more.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Have you been naughty or nice this year? Cash don't care. At Jackson Hewitt, you could still get up to $4,500 for the holidays. Some bucks now, more bucks in January. So be naughty. Snap up all the ginger snaps. Wear a pretty sweater to an ugly sweater holiday party. You could still get up to $4,500 when you go to Jackson Hewitt today. Details at jacksonhewitt.com. Eligible clients can get up to $1,000 in December and up to $3,500 in January. Loans by Republic Bank and Trust Company. Finance charge may apply.
Last year, 700 people died in crashes on New Jersey roads. Many because someone chose to drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. That's 700 preventable deaths. 700 parents, children, spouses, grandparents. Now multiply that number by their friends, coworkers, classmates. That's thousands of lives changed forever because of one mistake. Impaired driving can cost you your license and maybe even your freedom. For thousands of others, the cost is far worse. Don't drive impaired. From the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs. How Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Listen up, South Jersey football fans. Are you interested in solar? Want a free roof? EMT Solar and Roofing has you covered. Visit ESPNsolar.com to see if your home qualifies for a free roof with solar installation. Don't wait, act now. Start saving thousands and virtually extinguish your electric bill. ESPNsolar.com is the place to go for your roofing or solar needs. No commitments, no hidden fees. Go to ESPNsolar.com to see if you qualify.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by our friends at Jenkins & Sons. Trust Jenkins like 97.3 ESPN did, because we need to make our studio comfortable. That's who we called, and so should you. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy. Just give Jenkins a call at 609-641-6262 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. Well, we didn't expect to have this breaking news today, but it's news that I'm sure Rob Maaddi from the Associated Press is never surprised at in the world of the NFL, as Rob joins us right now on a Monday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, appreciate you jumping in. How you doing, my friend?
What's going on, Josh? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm not panicked about the Jalen Hurts news, but I do find it interesting. Rob, if I can start with this, you've covered media, worked in the media for a long time covering sports, and the way that 40 minutes played out on the internet with people all trying to be the first to information. I mean, literally one guy's admitting my bad with his reporting. A national media member basically got hoaxed into like a rando putting out false information. Like right now at 6:22 on Monday night, we all know the right information now, but 40 minutes there, it felt like it was a lot of, what is going on here?
It's unfortunate that we're in that era, Josh, where everybody's trying to be first. Like, accuracy matters most, and it always should be. And having the right information always trumps having the information first and inaccurate. So I kind of missed that media barrage of what was going on. So I didn't know there's a national. I know what you were referring to with the wrong shoulder, right? Which I think is kind of a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's the threat. That's kind of a big deal. But I missed the national media part.
Okay, so I'll fill you in real quick. So there was a national media member who I will not name because people, they can find out for themselves. He started the whole storm because he went out and retweeted some rando guy who I guess is a producer at ABC 6 in Philadelphia. The guy initially put out that Jalen Hurts has a broken collarbone. He was done for the year. And a national media member, retweets that. People are losing their mind. About 5 minutes later is when Garofalo, Schefter, and all those guys started putting out the information.
I missed that broken collarbone part of it, and that's unfortunate, man. But the good news for Eagles fans is it's not season ending. We've been here before, Josh. We've been down this road before. Exactly the same point of the season, too. Number 1 seed, 3 games remaining, and in steps a backup quarterback. Except in that situation, we knew it was season ending for Carson Wentz. Nick Foles was going to be the guy. Here, Gardner Minshew only has 2, and it's still not guaranteed, but I don't see any reason why the Eagles would want to rush Jalen Hurts to play against the Cowboys. And essentially, what is a meaningless game? Eagles' magic number is 1. And they could even lose out. And if Dallas loses a game, Minnesota loses a game, 49ers lose a game, they still clinch the number 1 seed. But I would think it'd be very difficult for the Eagles to lose the Saints game, for example. So this game lost a lot of its luster when the Cowboys lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday in overtime. I think the Eagles can be cautious, be extremely cautious if they need to be. And Gardner Minshew isn't exactly Jeff Driscoll. It is a guy who last time we saw him play a game, I know it was the 2021 Jets as opposed to the playoff contending 2022 Jets. But he had an 80% completion, 20 of 25, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, 133.7 passer rating against the Jets last year. If he does anything remotely close to that, the Eagles have a chance to win this game. And if they don't, well, that'll show you just how valuable Jalen Hurts is.
Rob, I said before you came on, my working assumption is the Eagles are going to want to win the Saints game and get that out of the way, in part because they own the Saints pick, and if they win, they get a better draft pick in return. And secondly, I just think that they look at the Dallas game as, hey, if we go to Dallas and we lose, it's not the end of the world. Like you said, they got to win it just 1 of the next 3. So I'm assuming that no matter what happens this Saturday in Dallas, Rob, I'm assuming the Eagles will go out there, get the job done against the Saints, and then the Giants game is just kind of like, we'll see where Jalen Hurts is at that point.
Yeah, and that Giants game might most likely mean a whole lot more to the Giants, although there's a possibility that they'll have clinch too as well. And the only thing they could be playing for is whether or not it's a 6 seed or a 7 seed, and then it really becomes irrelevant to them. But I think if you've clinched, you go into that game, and Jalen hasn't played 2 games in a row, you might want to get him some reps. You might want to get him maybe a half, a quarter, whatever it may be, because you're going to have a bye the following week. I think the Cowboys, what they've shown over the past 2 weeks, struggling to beat Houston, losing to Jacksonville, the defensive issues that they have at cornerback, it's got to be a big concern for them. And I don't think the Eagles can look at this game as an automatic loss. I think you can go in there and compete with Gardner Minshew. You can go in there and give them a real test and a real run. And if there's a possibility of seeing the Cowboys somewhere again down the road too in the playoffs, depending on, there's a real possibility that can happen. Dallas gets the 5 seed, they beat Tampa 2-3, hold, then it's Eagles Dallas in the Eagles first round, in the Eagles divisional round playoff game, their first playoff game. So you really don't want to play them 3 times. You don't want to show them too much. So I don't think this is the end of the world or anything remotely close to it for the Eagles. It's tough to see that Jalen Hurts is banged up right now. You want him to be at his or close to at 100% going into the playoffs. It's funny. Yesterday I saw a stat how the Eagles were either the top or maybe top 3 most healthiest teams at this point in the season, and then bang, something like this happened.
Right, exactly. So then what is the bigger deflator then for Saturday's game, Rob? Is it Dallas losing to Jacksonville yesterday, or is it Jalen Hurts doubtful to play? Which of those is more deflating for Eagles Dallas week?
It depends on your perspective, right? If you're an Eagles fan, I don't think Eagles fans care about the Cowboys losing. In fact, they want them to lose. You want to beat them 50-0, and you want Jalen. So they're the biggest deflator to Eagles fans should be Jalen's injury. I think from a football watching perspective, from my perspective yesterday, I want to see a more meaningful game. So as I see Jacksonville come back and beat Dallas, my first inclination is it's Christmas Eve. My wife wanted to go to the 7 p.m. Church service. I wanted to convince her to go to the Friday church service. Now this Eagles game doesn't matter, but I always have the out that, babe, the NFL for a living, so I really need to be here regardless. She doesn't know that the game matters a little bit less, and the Niners are playing the Commanders also at 4 o'clock, so I still think I win that go to church on Friday instead of Saturday argument.
Rob Maaddi covers the NFL for the Associated Press, joining us here each Monday on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, at Rob Maaddi on Twitter. Speaking of that win, I was telling people as that game was playing out, Dallas and Jacksonville has to win that game if they wanted a shot at making the postseason. And I don't know who was more happy than Doug Peterson with that win. I mean, he's pumping his fist. He's jumping in the air. He's hugging Trevor Lawrence. Doug was almost Doug knew I didn't just, put my team in a position to go to the playoffs potentially, but he's and I took out Dallas. I felt like Doug still understood and felt like he was the Eagles coach almost.
It's funny, Josh. I thought the same thing as I'm seeing that, man. As I'm seeing that, I'm like, Doug hasn't lost. It's in his blood. The hate Cowboys rivalry, that's still there. I don't think you lose that overnight just because you're with a different team. I think that carries over, right? It penetrates your soul. So I'm watching that. I'm going, man, it's almost as if Doug's in an Eagles sideline visor right now, feeling that how big it is to beat the Cowboys. I felt the same way, man. And yeah, though, when then you take a step back and think about it, and with Tennessee losing and Jacksonville already having defeated Tennessee once this season and facing them in the final week of the regular season, they are setting themselves up if they can just stay. They're 1 game behind them right now, so they don't even have to pass them. They can just go into the final week of the season 1 game behind Tennessee, beat them, and win the division because they get the tiebreaker with the season sweep. So if you're an Eagles fan, you got to be pulling for Dougie P after what he kind of helped you make an easier path to the NFC East title, and just because he's so lovable. I think he is.
I mean, you gotta send at least Doug a Christmas basket or something as a thank you. I mean,
Vanilla ice cream, right?
Vanilla ice cream, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like, what do we do as coach of the year at this point? Like, what if Doug does take that team to the playoffs? What if Brian Daboll, and we saw that game last night? I mean, nobody thought the Giants were going to win last night. Everyone thought, oh, the Eagles smashed the Giants. There's no way. And it's like, there the Giants are winning a game, even if it was under bizarre circumstances. Like, what do we do as coach of the year right now?
Josh, I was thinking about this when I saw. I'm like, man, if Peterson runs the table and now goes 9-8 and wins that division with that team, and it's still 9-8 versus what's Nick going to finish? 14-3, 15-2, 16-1, maybe. I'm not sure. It's got to be Sirianni. Dable's got to get consideration. Dougie P gets consideration. I'm glad we have a top 3 now for Coach of the Year. So there will be an official 2 and an official 3, and they'll get their votes, and they'll be weighted, and they'll have a point system. But Nick Sirianni's got to be the Coach of the Year when you got a team at 13-1, right? Like to have a complete dominant season from start to almost finish, and we're not there yet, but we'll see how they finish. I think it's Nick Sirianni. And, as I'm thinking about this last week, too, I'm going comeback player, man. BG, Brandon Graham needs some votes. Brandon Graham should be right there in them. There's a lot of candidates. Saquon Barkley's a candidate. Geno Smith was hot and heavy midway through the season. But Brandon Graham needs to get some votes for that and finish somewhere in that top 3, too, as well.
Rob, I know you were at the Bucs game yesterday and saw the Bengals come from behind and get that win. But the Bucs are still winning the division because the Panthers lost to the Steelers yesterday. I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen from a Brady team. I mean, this Bucs team, it's not that they don't have talent. What is wrong in Tampa? Is it just the coaching, Rob?
It's a combination, right? They lost a lot of players. They got some injuries. They had 2 key retirements in Gronk and Ali Marpet, a Pro Bowl left guard. But I think just coaching has sucked the life out of this team. And no sooner did I post yesterday on Twitter that Todd Bowles is going for a 50-yard field goal on 4th and 2, up 10-0, and the 50-yard field goal misses, and how his lack of aggressiveness and lack of creativity and lack of imagination on offense killing his team. He then decides at 17-3 on the first possession of the second half from your own 26 on a 4th and 1 to try a fake punt with a up back in Gio Bernard, who hadn't been an up back all year. So the Bengals knew something was up. All of a sudden, you got Gio Bernard as the personal protector. And then either Bernard tried to call it off or didn't know the play, but the ball is snapped right off of him and he's not ready for it. And from there, Brady turns the ball over, which is uncharacteristic of him. 4 straight possessions, and it snowballs. And what was a 17-0 lead against the Bengals, they ended up being the only team in the NFL this weekend to lose by more than 10 points. Every other game was 10 points or less, except the Buccaneers, who actually owned a 17-0 lead. I think people are exhausted and frustrated with the coaching. It's a combination of so much, but then you go, and they still should win the division, and they still should get a home field advantage in the first round. And now they would play Dallas, who just lost to Jacksonville, who should have lost to Houston. And if they play like they did in the first half against the Bengals, well, yeah, they could beat the Cowboys, and then it's on to the Eagles maybe in the next round. So it's just a weird, wild, wacky season, man. And then you look at Kansas City; they almost lost to the Texans too. Josh, I wrote a column about this last night. How all these really good playoff-bound teams had a tough struggle in Week 15.
I mean, if Lovie Smith isn't convincing somebody that he deserves the job next year, I mean, I don't know what he's got to do. I mean, that team has no talent. He's got them fighting tooth and nail. I'm not trying to diminish what Dan Campbell's doing. I mean, we'll talk about him in a minute, but Lovey's got to be looking at the guys in front office, be like, just give me some better players, boys.
You know, Andy Reid made this comment yesterday too after he beat Lovey Smith. Andy said, "My word of advice. I don't know who he's giving the advice to, assuming it's to the Houston Texans front office, but give Lovey a chance because what he's doing here is so impressive, and the way he's got this team playing and fighting hard, and he's got Andy Reid impressed. And I wonder what they do there. They're gonna have a new front office structure with Easterby being out.
Happens there, but I think Lovie Smith has proven that he certainly gets his team to play hard. Even that Eagles game, they were in that for a while. They fought hard against Philly on that Thursday night game, and but they're still a long way from being anything at this point.
Couple more for you, Rob, before I let you go. I mentioned the Lions. I wanted to ask you, the team started 1-6. They're now 6-1. In the last 7 games, the Lions are giving up 12 less points per game defensively than they were in the first 7 games of the year. I mean, talk about an insane turnaround. The Lions look like they might be a dangerous team for the playoffs with the fighting Dan Campbells. I think we lost Rob there for a minute. His mic just kind of ghosted on us, and then he came back. I think we got him back now here on Game Night on the Ice. Rob, did we got you back now?
I hope so, man. I'd love to talk about the fighting Dan Campbells. Can you hear me?
We got you now.
Loud and clear. Hey, everybody always talks about this time of year, right? The team that nobody wants to face. How about them Detroit Lions? If they can get in, though, right, Josh? Because they're still right now. They're still on the outside looking in. They're technically a half game. But I love the fact that the Giants and the Commanders both have a tie. We don't have to worry about those stupid tiebreakers. Who won? Of course, the Lions beat them both, but it doesn't matter unless they tie. There's no tiebreaker. There's going to be, but they've played really hard. They've played really well. I think it's been a real. The way Jared Goff has come back. I just talked about comeback player of the year, right? His resurgence. He's got to be in a comeback player of the year mix. And he didn't have a horrible season last year, but he's now, everybody wrote him off as first overall pick by the Rams. Nobody wants him anymore. You got to take on less and do whatever to get rid of him and move on from his salary and all that stuff and trade him. All of a sudden, he's had a terrific season, and he's putting his team in a position to be a playoff team this year. And I've been impressed with the way the Lions have turned it around. I'm not sure if they're going to get in. The Commanders might end up facing a game that they got Dallas last game of the year. That might not matter to them. I know Dallas will maybe want to knock out Washington. I gotta look at the Lions schedule a little bit closer. But this week they got Carolina, right? And I think that's certainly a dub for Detroit, and that puts them one step closer. They're a fun team to watch. Campbell's a fun guy to root for. So I think it's a good thing for the NFL when you have comeback stories like this. You talk about comebacks in a season and games and teams coming back like the Colts, Vikings, Minnesota, 33-0 coming back, largest comeback in the history of the NFL. Well, this season, you got a 1-6 team that can come back and get in the playoffs. That's pretty impressive.
Rob, one more before I let you go. You saw the Bengals yesterday. Well, their win puts them ahead of the Ravens, the division. The Ravens looked horrible on Saturday against Cleveland. I mean, is that team just doomed at this point, the Ravens?
Unless Lamar comes back, and I think at some point the expectation is that he can play again. They need Lamar Jackson. It's a totally different offense, Josh, without Lamar Jackson, because the argument for him for MVP, and he's not going to win it, would be close to it this year. But that's when you see what a team looks like without their number one guy out there, when you're scoring 3 points against the Cleveland Browns with Tyler Huntley, you only lose 13-3. You know that's a dub with Lamar Jackson. If they don't get him back, that for sure is going to seal their fate. They're not going anywhere. They'll lose. But I always enjoy watching Baltimore the way they play, physical, tough, running the ball. I love seeing guys like Lamar when he has the ball in his hands, he can go 75 yards at any given time, whether he throws it or runs with it. So I hope they do. He comes back, and I hope they do find a way to get into the playoffs.
Follow him on Twitter at Rob Maaddi for all your NFL coverage. Don't forget the AP Pro Football Podcast. Like, subscribe, give it a 5-star review. And, of course, this weekend, Faith on the Field. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the replay. Sunday mornings here, Faith on the Field. Rob Maaddi hosting that here on 97.3 ESPN. Rob, always appreciate you jumping on, making the time. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Josh. You have a Merry Christmas, my friend.
You too, as well. Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Dan and EHT, Todd in Cherry Hill. We'll get to your messages and more coming up next here before we wrap up the hour. Don't forget, tonight, Sixers basketball at 7 p.m. Sixers take on the Raptors, followed by a Monday Night Football in progress, Rams and Packers tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Bible for three, it's good. Timeout, Warriors. 20,000 plus are on their feet.
It's Sixers Raptors tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. 'Tis the season to ring in the holiday cheer, and nobody does it better. Chickie's has you covered with complete holiday party packages and specials for parties of 25 or more. Hosting a holiday party of your own? Chickie's complete catering makes entertaining a breeze. Or book the Crab Fries Express for your next holiday event. Plus, don't forget to take care of everyone on your Christmas list with the Chickie and Pete's gift card. It always fits and always gets returned. Parties, catering, events, and more. You're covered all season long at Chickie's and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Can't go to the game? Be at the center of the action at Chickies and Pete's, your favorite local sports bar, and enjoy our exclusive in-game experience. The sound surrounds you. The energy takes over. You feel like you're at the game, but you're only at Chickies and Pete's. Even better, no concession lines. Go to Chickies and Pete's on game day for our one-of-a-kind in-game experience. You're in the game at Chickies and Pete's.
I never write reviews, but Navage is so amazing, I had to leave one. Nothing's ever cleared out my sinuses as well. I'm blown away by how Navage works. That's a review from Carrie, and it's one of over 100,000 online testimonials praising Navage. I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I've talked about flushing out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, how Navage's powered suction can help you breathe better, and how your nose is the body's air filter, and Navage will clean it out. But don't take my word for it. What do people like Chad say, who wrote, Navage has helped clear out my nasal passages every single night. My wife says my snoring has gone way down. Snorefest be gone, unquote. Navage is the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million customers to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with fresh, limited quantity deals each day on tech to power every passion. Save on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget, special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Just call 877-ASK-DELL for Days of Deals savings. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
There's nothing like having the best of both worlds. And if you need quality orthopedic care, that's what you'll get from Cape Regional Health System. First, you'll get the personalized orthopedic care the Cape Region has counted on for decades. And through our partnership with Penn Orthopedics, you'll now benefit from nationally ranked clinical expertise respected across the country. For an appointment, call 609-463-CAPE or visit caperegional.com/orthopedics. Cape Regional Health System and Penn Orthopedics, the best of both worlds for a healthier life.
Welcome to What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what ifs. We've got a call from Millie. What's up?
Hi, Jake. What if, hypothetically, a moose gets mad at my car and rams into my windshield? Hypothetically.
Oh, just file a claim on the app. At State Farm, we're there for your what ifs.
Great, but what if the moose eats my phone? Hypothetically.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Exciting news. There's a new way to head to Florida for some sunshine. It's with Avelo. Hello, Avelo. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Avelo flies from Wilmington Airport to 5 different Florida destinations. So no more driving to Philly. No more dealing with parking hassle. Low fares for Avelo start at just $49 each way. Flights begin February 1st. Save $20 off round-trip flights with promo code ESPN20 when you book and fly by April 30th, 2023. Book now at AveloAir.com.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette.
It may be cold outside, but the deals are smoking at Bennett Chevrolet. It's our red-hot clear-the-lot year-end sale. While they last, everybody gets GM supplier employee pricing on new Chevys. That's right, everybody pays what our supplier employees pay and not a penny more. Even when other dealers are selling for thousands over sticker, Bennett is selling at GM supplier employee prices. But hurry, this incredible deal is on new Chevys and they will sell out fast. Save even more with rates as low as 3.99%. And every pre-owned's on sale too. This may sound unbelievable, but Bennett's paying a minimum $10,000 for the worst clunkers towards any pre-owned in stock. Yes, a minimum 10 grand for total Imagine how much you'll get for a trade that actually runs. And our non-commissioned sales team is paid not on how much you spend, but on your satisfaction. So you know you will be satisfied. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Don't forget Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy, because Jenkins Conditions got you covered. Heating, air conditioning, boilers, hot water heaters, leaks, whatever you need done. Heating, plumbing, air conditioning, Jenkins got you covered. Give them a call at 609-641-6262. Online at jenkinsandsons.com. Before we get out of here, as promised, I want to get to some of your messages. By the way, looks like Tobias Harris will be back in the lineup tonight for the 76ers. So that is some good news for the Sixers tonight as they take on the Raptors. Pretty good Raptors team. I know the records don't make it look like this is a great matchup, but this could still be a very fun game tonight. Your starting lineup for the Sixers tonight is Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Joel Embiid, Anthony Melton, and James Harden. Also, the Raptors will not have Gary Trent Jr. for tonight. It looks like that they will have the rest of their starting lineup out there for the Raptors. All right. Over on the text board, 609-403-0973. This one texter didn't leave their name, so I'm just going to call them Mr. 813. So they basically keep bringing up the fact that they said the 49ers have only 4 losses and no division losses. Well, the problem with that scenario you're putting out there, texter, Mr. What am I calling you, Mr. 813, is number one, if you go by the NFL simulations, the only way the 49ers jump up high enough is the 49ers have to win out, the Eagles have to lose out, and then they have a chance. And there's 2 problems with that scenario. Number one, the 49ers have a semi-easy schedule down the stretch. The 49ers got Washington at home. They got to go to the Raiders. And the Raiders, as we saw this week with them, anything can happen. And then they finish the year with the Cardinals. If you genuinely believe that the Eagles will lose all 3 games to the Cowboys on Saturday, the Saints on New Year's Day, and the Giants the following weekend, then sure, maybe in that scenario you think that can happen. What you're also looking for is you need some other things to happen along the way as well. For example, you need the Vikings to lose somewhere. See, the only way San Francisco gets to the top is that the Vikings also have 4 losses. And I think that's part of the conversation we talked about. Look, the Vikings finished the year at the Chicago Bears. I think we believe they'll beat them, right? The belief is that they will beat them. The Vikings then have to lose also the week before to Green Bay. Green Bay's having a dumpster fire season. This week, they're playing the Giants. So you don't just need San Francisco for the Eagles to lose, you need the Vikings to lose as well. All right. Mike in Hamilton says, Josh, appreciate the show. Good listening in. I don't like being right, but because they designed run plays for Hurts, he sprained his shoulder yesterday. Thankfully, it wasn't worse, but this is the risk you have having a quarterback run the ball like he does. That's why I was adamant about not risking the quarterback run like he does. Mike in Hamilton, I never said you were wrong. I am not a fan of putting your quarterback in harm's way. Most of the year, Hurts has been running plays where he's not taking hits. He's not taking contact. I think yesterday was the first time, Mike and Hamilton, your concerns were front and center, because yesterday was the first time where it looked like that they had no regard for Hurts' health, the way they were running him. They were running him on draws and plays that was putting him directly in the sight line of the defense hitting him way more than he should. They didn't run the ball with Miles Sanders enough. They didn't run enough play action. They were putting their quarterback in harm's way. And I think that was the Eagles coach's fault and the offensive line's fault more than anything else. So that's where I do say you were right, Mike and Hamilton. But most of the year, Hurts has not been running like that most of the time. He has not been running the contact. He has not been running and getting hit like that. Dan EHC says over at 609-403-0973, when the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I want Lorian Roseman named MVP for the game. I don't know about that, but Dan EHC also says, give Jared Goff some credit. He's so underappreciated. He's balling out right now. Everybody thinks it's Campbell and culture, but Goff is a Super Bowl quarterback. Well, he also lost that Super Bowl and played like garbage, Dan EHD. But you are right. Like Rob Mai said, Goff deserves credit for that. He has done a great job at stabilizing that team, that offense. They've been pretty good most of the year. They've had a couple, lousy games, but for the most of the year, the offense has done well with him as the quarterback. I think Goff is a good, solid NFL quarterback. I just don't think he's on the same level of other number 1 overall picks. When you talk about number 1 overall picks in NFL history, you're talking about John Elway and Peyton Manning, and even Eli Manning and Trevor Lawrence a couple of years ago. And then you got Jared Goff. And it's like this drop off from those guys to Jared Goff. So I think that's really what the issue is with Goff. I said I get to Todd and Cherry Hill's text because I don't think Todd is fully understanding what I'm trying to say. Todd says, Josh, why do you pretend you're smarter than coaches? This is such elementary analysis. You shouldn't allow Hurts to make changes. He isn't a top 7 quarterback, not even top 10 in my opinion, but I'll give you 8th overall. Todd goes on to say this Eagles team has the feel of a team that went undefeated in college football but didn't play in the SEC, and they gets boat raced when they finally get in a real game. By the way, I'm a Pats fan. I have no dog in the fight. I don't think the Eagles are impressive. Couple things. One, Todd, I don't think I'm more smarter than any particular coach. I just think there are some things that are captain obvious things, and that, if I can see something and you can see something and everybody else can see something was a bad decision. And if everybody on NFL Network and ESPN and everybody who played the game and coached the game think it's a bad decision, I don't think it's me being smarter than a coach. I think it's me just parroting what other people are also saying as well. Your issue with Hurts making changes, a quarterback being allowed to make changes has nothing to do with whether they're a top 10 quarterback or not. It has to do with the offense that you run. How much liberty are you giving your quarterback to make decisions? How much decision making are you allowing them to do? Obviously, Hurts is not Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, but neither is Justin Herbert. But Justin Herbert is given opportunities to make changes at the line that a lot of quarterbacks are not, because his coach is a defensive-minded coach, and his offensive play caller gives him a lot more liberty and leeway than others would. That's why that happens. But Todd and Cherry Hill, I appreciate you chiming in. All right, don't forget, coming in next, Sixers versus Raptors, followed by the Monday Night Football game in progress. Packers Rams. I'm Josh Hennig. I'll be filling in for Mike Gill starting at 2 o'clock tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Over the last few years, we've all heard of